Hello and welcome to FPL Mate, your best mate for fantasy Premier League content for the 2021-22 season. My name is Dan and today we are doing a Gameweek 34 episode of Asking 100 Experts, the video where we kind of have a look at the expert transfer trends, captain trends, chip trends, everything that's going on right now. What are the experts doing with their fantasy teams this week? And let's see if we can learn anything from it and find any like trends and stuff from it, which I find really helpful. Today, guys, we've got a really interesting one. It's pretty Chelsea heavy, I'm not going to lie, but what I will say, guys, is there is a really interesting split on the captaincy. So wait till the end of the video, you're going to see it for yourself, the stats on captaincy and what our experts are going for in terms of their captain this week, because it's pretty interesting. But we'll get to that eventually, guys. If you do enjoy all of the video in total, then please do leave a like. It massively helps out the channel, and do subscribe as well if you're new around here and you want FPL content on your screens every single day. Pretty much. But without further ado, guys, let's meet the 100 experts that helped us out this week. So you see in front of you the names of 100 absolute legends that very kindly shared with me their plans for the week, what transfers they're making, who they're going to captain, if they're using any chips, etc. And they're all amazing. So thank you so much, guys, everyone who got involved. You really help out a lot of people by contributing your data to these videos. And you know, let's fingers crossed we get to help a lot of people out with this video. So yeah, legends on screen right now. Big shout out to every single one of them. So first, let's look at these general trends. So out of the 100 expert managers, 25% of them are making just one transfer, 42% are making two transfers, 12% are making 3 or more transfers. I think one person is actually making 4 transfers. So 11% making 3 and 1% making 4 technically, but that's too much. That's too much going on there. So yeah, 12% making 3 or more transfers, and just 1% of people not making a transfer this week. So I don't know if that tells you anything, but this is definitely a week to make a transfer. I can't remember the last time I saw the not making the transfer stat quite this low. This is really seriously low. It doesn't usually go down to 1%. Really doesn't. So yeah, guys, this is a week to make a transfer. It's not a week to sit on your hands. Let's make some moves. Let's make some positive moves and let's improve our team. Also, guys, 19% of people are using their wildcard as well. So this is a very popular week to use your wildcard if you still have one left. In fact, it's arguably the best time between now and the end of the season to use your wildcard. And if you wait any longer before using your wildcard, you're probably not going to see the full benefits of using it. So guys, if you do still have a wildcard, I think this is a very good time to use it. 19% of our FPL experts are using it this week as well. I imagine the vast majority of the rest of them have already used it. So that's kind of why we're at 90% there. So huge week for a wildcard. I don't think we'll see anything above like 1 or 2% wildcard usage for any game week for the rest of the season. I don't think it's going to be high for the rest of the season at all. So this is the week to use it if you still got it in hand, guys. On to chips, and as mentioned, 90% using the wild card. We have got no one using any other chips other than one person is using their triple captain chip this week. Yes, just one. So I don't know if that suggests that it's a good week necessarily. 1%, one person is not a trend, so I don't want to think into it too much, but I should give a shout out to Dread FPL, a guy who've actually met a couple of times, really nice guy, at these FPL meetups that happen in London, and he is going for a triple captain on Reece James, hence the Reece James picture you see on screen right now. So he's going to triple captain Reece James. That's pretty bold. I don't know if that's going to come off or not. I'm sure we'll find out soon enough, but just wanted to put that out there. One person triple captaining. I don't know if that's enough to suggest that all of us should do it as well, though. So let's look at the general trends around the world of FPL and have a look at who are the most popular transfers that are being brought in by the total 9 million players so far this game week. Who is the I don't want to call them the casual manager, but like the general manager, you know, the everyman. Who are the everyman's favourite transfer targets this week? And you can see them on screen now. We've got Mount, Pukki, Salah, Ronaldo leading the pack, and then it kind of dies out a little bit. We've not actually had that many transfers been made so far this game week, so I think people are potentially waiting for the Game Week 33 fixtures to conclude before making their transfers. But we have got, you know, Mount and Pukki way out in the lead there. So these are really popular players that people are bringing in right now among the world of FPL. But do our experts agree with any of these transfer shouts? Well, Actually, yeah, quite a lot of them, our experts agree. So Mount, Pukki, Reece James, Havertz, Werner and Alonso, all of these players are also being heavily brought in by our experts. So really, really popular players in the general populace of FPL, really, really popular players among FPL experts as well. And you can see they are pretty much exclusively Chelsea players. Apart from Pukki, they're all Chelsea players. So there, like I said, there is going to be a heavy Chelsea emphasis in this video, and I'm not sorry for that at all. There may even be a Mason Mount emphasis as well, but we'll talk about that a little bit later. But yeah, these are the popular ones among our experts. But there are a couple of players who our experts are just not interested in at all. No one is bringing them in, and some of them are even being sold. And those players are Ronaldo, Tony, and Luis Diaz. So these three players, no experts are interested in whatsoever, and arguably should be sold as well. I think Ronaldo is kind of just because it's a double game week for him, but it's not an amazing double game week for him. And we know Ronaldo blanks in game week 37 as well. It just probably is not the direction you want to be taking your team in terms of going for Ronaldo. I kind of spoke about that in yesterday's buy, sell, keep, avoid video. We've got Luis Diaz, who is just a little bit rotation risk. And I think if we're going to go for some Liverpool players, we probably, particularly as we're targeting their double in 36, maybe we want to go for some slightly more nailed on players as well. And Tony is in this list of popular players around the world of FPL every single week. And every single week, our experts are not buying him. So he is the casuals' favourite. Tony is the casuals' favourite player. And the experts' least favourite player, or so it seems. So there we go, guys. A little bit of interest in Salah, Rudiger and Son, but I would say that most people already have Salah and Son. If you want Salah or Son, you probably already have him. You're not going to be buying him in now. But there's still a few experts bringing them in, and Rudiger, a couple of experts bringing him in as well. But I think actually people are kind of looking elsewhere for their Chelsea players, and we're going to talk about that in just one moment. But first of all, let's have a look and see who our experts are selling. So you see on screen, guys, the most popular transfers out of the game week among our FPL experts. 22 are taking out Doherty. Obviously, Doherty is injured for the season. Most people probably took him out last week, but there's still a few people with Doherty kind of kicking around still in their squads this week as well. And this is the week where, you know, if you still got him, you do have to get rid of him eventually, and maybe they're picking this week to get rid of him, particularly as there are some nice options that we can go for. Take Doherty too. So that's one reason why he might be being removed. Aside from that, guys, there's a real big emphasis on removing midfielders. So you can see Saka, Rafinha, Barnes, Kulusevski, Fernandes there, Ward-Prowse there. You know, even a couple of people removing Heung-min Son from their team. There is a lot of people that are being removed here quite heavily, and there seems to be a lot based around midfielders. So, you know, I know a lot of you guys are probably not going to want to remove some of these players. You know, Saka, Rafinha, Barnes, Kulusevski, they're not that bad options to own, really, but the problem is you can do a lot better, and there's some new great options emerging, so you kind of have to just sacrifice someone. It's really difficult to figure out who you're going to sacrifice, but our experts are trying to sacrifice some players. They're kind of figuring out who they want to sacrifice, and Saka and Rafinha in particular seem to be really, really popular transfers out if you have to sacrifice one of your midfield slots, essentially. We've got Weghorst there and Broja as in terms of forwards as well, if you're looking to sacrifice a forward. So, people may be a little bit sick and tired of Weghorst, even though he did get that goal the other day. But I think people have lost a lot of patience with him after his double game week. It's bye-bye to him for a lot of people, I suppose. But those are the players being transferred out. Again, Doherty is the main one just because he is injured. Anyway, there is no harm in taking him out of your team. And aside from that, you guys are probably going to have to sacrifice a midfielder. But why? Why are you going to have to sacrifice a midfielder? Well, because there's a few on the buys list that maybe you might be interested in. So here are the most popular transfers in, and we have Mason Mount, his face on screen once again, with 43 out of our 80 managers making a transfer this week. So this excludes wildcarders, who I imagine most wildcarders will probably be going for Mount as well. This does exclude wildcarders, and it excludes people not making a transfer this week. 43 out of 80, so over half are transferring in Mason Mount this week. So it is a really obvious transfer for you to bring in. We are seeing his face everywhere. We've seen his face on the screen. You saw a couple of slides ago where we saw the overall favourite transfer in. We've got him as the favourite expert transfer in as well. Mason Mount is basically, if you don't have him already, he is the player to buy this game week, or so our experts say. And you know what? I tend to agree with them. He looks like a really, really good buy for this week. We know how nailed on he is. We know that Chelsea have got this lovely double game week. We do want to be going for Chelsea players right about now, and Mount is going to be your #1 target. Basically, that's the situation. But there are many other options, and they seem to all be from Chelsea as well. So we've got Marcus Alonso, 18 out of 80. So he's actually ranking above Reece James at the minute in terms of expert transfers in. And now part of that is because of his price. Alonso is much cheaper and much easier to get to. But also, there is this idea that Alonso doesn't really have much competition for his place at the moment. He's playing pretty well, and it looks like Alonso is actually definitely going to be playing as a wing back because he's Alonso, whereas Reece James has kind of been talk about his fitness and maybe how he's not quite ready to be playing twice a week at right wing back because he's not quite at the right level, in terms of fitness, in terms of recurring injuries and stuff like that. It's really tough for James to play at right wing back every week. So we're either going to see James rotated a little bit, or we're going to see him playing as centre back, which is not really where we want him in terms of getting FPL points. We actually want to see him a little bit further up the pitch, not in the centre back position. So Reece James actually might be playing in a slightly more reserved position. I think people are just starting to pivot towards maybe Alonso potentially being the better pick than Reece James, just because of the price, just because of there's probably not going to be too much difference in terms of rotation risk, and we think that Alonso might end up playing a little bit higher on the pitch as well. So do bear in mind that, guys, that maybe you can go for Alonso instead of Reece James if your budget doesn't allow for Reece James. But that's not to say that James isn't a super popular choice as well, because he very clearly is. We've got Kai Havertz, who is reasonably popular as well. Mount is very much the favourite choice out of the two, but there are still a few people going for Havertz as well, or some people maybe even going for both. But you definitely want to get a couple of Chelsea players in this game week, guys. We saw when we saw how many transfers people are using this week. Most people are actually making 2 or more transfers. So over half of our experts are making 2 or more transfers. So it could be a week to actually go in and make multiple transfers, maybe even 3 transfers, and just try and load up, get some Chelsea players, even if it means taking a -4 to do it. Go all in. And these are your most popular picks. We've got Pookie in there sneaking in at 5th with 9 transfers in out of 80. So that's actually quite a lot. It's nice to see that. He's got a double game week in 36, so people potentially thinking about bench boosts for 36 and things like that. Pookie definitely allows you to do that. And we've got Werner in there as our alternative Chelsea player as well. So, maybe we could go for a Timo Werner if you fancy a punt on a forward. I know a few people have been hyping him up recently in the FPL community. He's not a fashionable pick typically, but he's playing really well right now, and he's really important to the way Chelsea are playing right now. Down that left-hand side, providing that pace, really, really nice. And aside from that, guys, we've got a bit of a mixed bag. You'll notice that there's no Rudiger in the list. People really are preferring Alonso and Reece James to Rudiger, so make of that what you will. And the only final note, I suppose, is we've got a 4.5 million forward on screen as well. That is not the name of a player, don't worry. There hasn't been a new sign into the Premier League called 4.5 million forward. It'd be interesting if there was a player called with that name, but that's not the case. But yeah, a lot of people are kind of considering going for some 4.5 million forwards, just downgrading our forwards, because at this point we know forwards aren't doing anything. If you're not looking to bench boost, you're happy to just leave a 4.5 million forward on your bench for now, then I think that is absolutely fine. It's an absolutely fine tactic to do, and kind of use your money to buy in some Chelsea players. You're going to have to maybe downgrade somewhere. You might have to downgrade one of your forwards to a 4.5 million forward in order to afford to go for a Mount or Alonso or Havertz or Reece James or whoever. Right, suggested transfers, guys. I'll try and whiz through this. We've got, basically, we want to get Mount in primarily. Maybe if you don't want Mount for whatever reason, or if you've already got Mount, you maybe want to go for Havertz instead. These are the 3 players that you can sacrifice in order to get a Mount or Havertz. And those players are Saka, Rafinha, and Barnes. Now, you're not going to be able to do this unless you've got money in the bank already. You're probably not going to be able to do this in one move, so you might have to take a -4 in order to do one of these moves, which is interesting. It seems like everyone is taking -4s and doing double transfers in so many different ways that you may have to actually come up with a way of doing it yourself, whether that's kind of downgrading a forward to a 4.5 million forward, whether that's downgrading one of your defenders, whether that's downgrading one of your premiums. I don't know. There's just so many different ways of doing it, and there doesn't seem to be one clear way of doing it. So have a look at your team. How can you free up a little bit of cash in order to upgrade Saka, Rafinha, Barnes, someone like that, maybe Kulusevski as well, to a Mount or a Havertz? Or we could go Fernandes to a Mount or a Havertz and free up a little bit of money that way. I know a few of you guys bought in Fernandes for his double game week last game week. Even though he does have a double this week, I'm sure not too many people are too keen on keeping him. You know, Manchester United have just been so disappointing recently. So if you're willing to sacrifice Fernandes, then that could be a good way of being able to go for a Mount or Havertz in one transfer. And then maybe you even make a second transfer and upgrade another one of your players to a Chelsea player. So you downgrade Fernandes to a Chelsea player and then upgrade one of your other players to another Chelsea player, and you get 2 Chelsea players that way. That works pretty well. A lot of people transferring Doherty to Alonso or James. Again, because Alonso and James are just a little bit more expensive. James is quite a decent amount more expensive. Alonso is only a little bit more expensive, so maybe that's a little bit more realistic. But again, you may have to find that you have to free up a little bit of money. And one way of freeing up money is by going from Weghorst to Pukki, because Pukki is a little bit cheaper than Weghorst. So if you've got a Weghorst, you fancy a little go on Pukki, why not downgrade that one, make the double transfer? But whatever you do, guys, and this is the big message from the video, if you're making a transfer, and this is an overwhelming trend among experts, make sure one of the transfers that you're using, no matter how many transfers you're using, no, if you're on a wild card, whatever, make sure you are bringing in Chelsea players. That is the big takeaway from the 100 experts today. But we still have captains to go. Let's have a look at those. Wow, what a split at the top. 37% going for Mason Mount and 35% going for Salah. So these two are pretty much neck and neck. Mount just sneaking slightly in front there. It's pretty crazy, right? Actually pretty crazy to see that there's just a real two-way split here in terms of captaincy. We don't usually get this where it's so close between two really popular captain picks. So, in essence, what we're really looking at here, guys, is who do you fancy? Mason Mount or Mo Salah? Which team are you backing today? Chelsea versus West Ham and Manchester United, or Salah at home to Everton? We do know Salah is well and truly back, so particularly after last night, maybe that swayed a few people in terms of going for Salah. Maybe a little bit of recency bias there as well. But maybe Mount is actually going to be the popular pick come deadline, just because when people have got over the Salah hype a little bit, maybe they go back to Mount, or maybe the Salah hype is just too much and you have to captain him against a pretty weak looking Everton team at home as well. Mount against West Ham and Man United is a really good double. I know this doesn't look good on paper, but I actually don't think it's a bad double at all. I don't think West Ham or Manchester United have been particularly impressive defensively recently, so it looks bad on paper, but I actually think it's a pretty good idea to attack these fixtures. Aside from the Mount and Salah, it's just a sea of Chelsea really here, isn't it, guys? Havertz at 16%, so he's reasonably popular as well if you fancy a go on Havertz instead of Mount. We do know that Havertz is going to be on penalties, actually, in the absence of Jorginho. So when Jorginho's not playing, Havertz on penalties, that could be a pretty nice thing to have as a little like mini advantage, I suppose, if you fancy captaining him. We've got Reece James here, obviously a defender. We're kind of unsure a lot about Reece James, but we know what he's capable of. He's just capable of these huge hauls. So quite a few people opting for Reece James as their captain, which is quite interesting because even though Alonso is a more popular transfer in, people are more willing to captain Reece James. I don't know, make of that what you will. We've got Werner there at 2%. That's a kind of a risky punt, isn't it? Like I say, Alonso. And then finally, just one person going outside of Chelsea and Liverpool and going for Bruno Fernandes in his double. I don't know how I feel about that one. 1% is not a trend, so we can probably disregard that one person punting on Fernandes. But there you go, guys. Those are the captains. Basically, it's either Salah or a Chelsea player. Take your pick. I'd love to hear from you guys. Who are you going to go for captain this week in particular? I would love to see what the FPL Mate community in the comments are kind of thinking in terms of captaincy. Are you going for Mount? Are you going for Salah? Are you going for Havertz? Are you going for someone else? Love to hear it, guys. And that is the end of the video. Thank you so much for watching, guys. I am going to be doing a stream tomorrow, so just do stay tuned for that one. We're going to do some kind of strategy stream, I think, and we're going to talk a little bit about some strategies that you guys can use for your remaining chips. So if you've got wild cards, bench boosts, triple captains, whatever you've got left, I'm going to try and help you guys out of how you can use the remaining chips that you have at your disposal. Aside from that, guys, make sure you like the video before you disappear. Please do subscribe as well. And yeah, aside from that, thank you so much for watching, guys, and I will see you later, mates. Bye-bye.